and they're living on the streets.
Vehicle is a white van, unknown license.
I've seen a flying saucer.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Lost Frequency Podcast, and today we had on Neil Ballas. By the way, I'm Tom.
And I'm Rye.
And I forgot to do the intro correctly because Tom is tired today.
Tom is really tired today. And Tom's had some bad luck today.
And some really good luck, too.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Tom's truck took a big shit.
Yeah, but I'm batting a good average today.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
All right today.
But that's all right. You know, we have this adversity. We overcame it.
My boy Rye is the real deal, guys. He's a great dude. He does carry a satchel. Don't hold that against him.
Indiana Jones has a satchel.
Yeah,
let's just establish this. And I said this already. Indiana Jones has a satchel.
Yeah, but he also carried a whip and all that too. You got a whip in your satchel?
I have a whip.
Oh, okay. Cat of nine tails. Oh my God! All right, yeah, all right, fantastic.
That was pretty good, eh?
That was. I give that a good 75, dude.
Yes.
Yeah,
best
dude.
Yet, best yet.
Yeah, he's getting it, dude. So, you wanted to bring up a subject or ask me a question?
Yeah. I had a question. I was like, we're talking about Bigfoot. We're talking about last episode we were talking with B Moss, and she was, we're talking about Sasquatch and Dogman. What do you think? Well, you can pick either one or both. Doesn't matter. I think they kind of almost going to fall into the same category. What do you think they are, or where are they from, or what are they? And go.
Oh man, that's a tough question. I just put it this way. I was thinking about this too, and mine was more of like talking about the whole, hey. It's a flesh creature. No, it's an interdimensional portal, and like this fucking nerd fight, and it's just like that's not what I think it should be. But I really, honestly, don't know what to make of it. I haven't thought of it much.
I know sometimes when you're talking about Dogman, though, you do kind of lean towards military experiments or kind of like something like that. Like when I've talked to you about it, that's where you kind of gone. Again, nothing's wrong in this because no one really does. Well, some people know, but they're not talking.
Dude, rogue military experiments. I mean, look, I think they also put like Lyme disease as a military experiment. I mean, why not? Why not? I just don't see a reason why it shouldn't be or couldn't be.
There's that movie, right? Was it the Dogman? It's what is that movie? It was
Merkel's?
No. It's like an older movie, probably like maybe early 2000s, where there was the Dogman Soldiers, I think it's called.
You search me, bro. I don't know.
Oh, like this was kind of like in Iraq or Afghanistan, where they had these. Well, it's more on the line of like werewolf, like they were changing into these.
Yeah. I'm more of a classic cryptic guy. Like I knew Bigfoot, and
was he nice?
He was a good guy. I brought some Cuban cigars for a cool guy.
Excellent.
Yeah, he was a little stinky. I told him to go wash his ass, but I didn't start hearing about Dogman until like I got here to Mexico, and like you were just like, hey, check out this podcast. It was Turner Merkel's podcast, the Confessionals.
Yeah, and
I was like, what the hell is Dogman?
Yeah, you know what? It's crazy. Dogman has been like, well, we could say Dogman's been around for a long time, which in reality, if you kind of look at it, if you're looking at like Anubis, which we talked about, that's, in my opinion, that is a Dogman, and that's been around for centuries, millennia.
At least since the 60s. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, Dogman.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, I'm a corny fellow.
That's all right.
I enjoy corny stuff. I enjoy it.
Yeah, so Dogman has been around, but it just, I think it almost lost. And I'm almost wondering if it's picking up momentum because of all the attention it's getting. Not that it's I mean that it was always like the percentage of actual sightings were always low, but now more people talk about it. They give it energy. You know when
I
they're
was
saying
definitely thinking that.
when they give it energy, it starts manifesting more and more, and it's kind of like it's being called into reality.
Yeah,
more
it's
and
kind of
more.
like the more you believe in Donald Trump, the oranger his face becomes. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. The second Trump reference in about 2 hours.
I know. You seem to be picking on Trump today.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
Yeah, I pick on. I mean, okay, we got Weekend at Bernie's. Why not Cheeto Face?
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever, they're all just stupid anyway. But I don't know, man. Like, here's what's been tripping me out because you hear about Bigfoot, you see the Patterson Gimlin film, which I'm a big fan of course, and I definitely believe it's real.
Yeah, I do too.
Then you start hearing that there's like many different types. You know, the second one I heard of was called the skunk ape.
Yeah.
And then you hear about there's
and what is the one? What was the name of the one that Daryl
Woodbooger? Woodbooger, hey, in stereo.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Rye and Tom in stereo. Hold on to your panties, ladies. Or guys, whatever. You know, we're not choosers.
Oh my god.
See, the Rye, you always make me uncomfortable with these X-rated type things.
Yeah.
And when I say something, it's like, oh no, Tom, no.
No, Tom.
Professor.
Let's keep on track, Tom.
Professor Voss is here. And,
Professor Voss says, let's
dude, you
keep
do
on
have
track.
a name of an evil, like, villain. Rye Voss, dude? You could be read along like Lex Luthor.
Ooh, I like that. That's my alter ego, Rye Voss.
You're going to get one. Dude, I'm going to get you a cat. You're going to have a cat that's your pet.
Mr. Bigglesworth.
Austin Powers?
Yes.
There you go. Wow, I got the reference finally. Because me and Rye see different movies. Rye's more of a movie guy than me. I'm more of a music guy.
Yeah. Your
music comedy.
Music is more of your passion, I would say.
Yeah.
I am a music guy, but music's your passion.
Yeah. Eventually, when everything calms down out on the ranch there, I'm going to be making albums and stuff like that. I'm seriously like a rock alternative album, all that kind of stuff. But speaking of rock albums and Neil Ballas or ballads, I'm good.
Ballas. Neil Ballas.
Ballas in his house, yo.
But I don't know where you're going with this, this circle back kind of thing.
I was trying to circle it back.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm not very.
But I was saying we should circle back to. I wasn't saying. I was giving pantomiming to Tom. Let's bring it back to the conversation where we're talking about we think these creatures are. Now, what about Nephilim? And tie in with any Nephilim with him.
I haven't heard it. I didn't hear about Nephilim until I was starting to write. I was in this band and they were writing an album, and this guy, their former singer, started writing a song, and they were saying this is what he's wrote so far. You can change it whatever you want, and it was about the Nephilim, and I'm like, what the hell is the Nephilim? Because I'm not religious, and I don't really know much about the Bible, but and then coming on this, I learn a lot of things like you guys out there learn. Like when you maybe hear for the first time, most of the time it's also for me the first time. So Rye's more endowed in it, or more endowed.
Yeah,
and probably that too.
Sure,
right?
We'll go with that. Yeah,
and
I'm kind of I would say I know a lot of paranormal, cryptid, strange phenomena kind of stuff. I don't I'm a little bit we'll say I'm spread out through everything.
Okay.
I'm not totally invested like I can tell you stories upon stories about Nephilim, or stories upon stories about Sasquatch or Bigfoot or Dogman or stuff like that. But I know a little bit about everything, kind of like a jack of all trades when it comes to paranormal.
I think the reason I'm afraid of Bigfoot and Dogman is because they're way bigger than me, and I'm not afraid of elves and gnomes and fairies is because I could just kick the little fucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but until they come through portals and shit and
but
start
if a
to
whole
mess
bunch
with
come
it.
at one time and they're wearing those hats and they just carry me away on a plank of wood,
Gilligan's Island or something like that, when Gulliver's Travels.
Yes,
yeah.
Gilligan.
That's a whole other story.
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, well, Gilligan, man, isn't that with the Minnow, SS Minnow? But this is Gulliver. Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's a mystery, and it's. I think maybe. I mean, there's a lot of things that are mysteries out there, especially the things that are being promoted by the government and this, that, and the other, and the fourth, and whatever. But when it comes to, discovery and mystery, I think this is easily one of the biggest we have nowadays.
Wh-
That's probably been around for a long, long time, but I'm saying like the one, maybe through the connection of the internet, we're able to talk to one another better, and there's like more information being disseminated towards one another, so maybe it's a little bit more bigger than that idea. Also adding to the idea that you had, saying that the more you talk about it, the more you manifest the reality of them actually being more often.
And I agree. And there's also the possibility that we're not dealing, even though it could be Dogman as a whole, could it not be subdivided and being like government experiments, because they've gotten hold of some of these actual Dogman and created their own, their own genetic experiments.
They want to use it for like an army.
Exactly. And so then, the people that are saying, they're flesh and blood, well, those ones could literally be flesh and blood.
Wow.
And then you have the other ones who are portal jumpers, interdimensional beings.
Like the original.
Yeah. And I'm maybe in the camp of the longer they stay in this reality, the more physical flesh and blood they become.
All I know is they scare the living bejesus out of me, man.
I agree. Especially the one that B was talking about. Like that thing was like built, that was stacked. Same thing with Seth. Seth was saying it was like, Schwarzenegger Dogman.
Something like that. Was Schwarzenegger werewolf.
Yeah.
But it's like the one she was talking about was like he was in the gym or some crap, and no, I'm good, dude. I just a Chihuahua, I'm good. I don't need that.
What about a Chihuahua dog, man? A little side here. Hey, what are you doing? Hey.
He just looks at you and goes, He just goes.
Yeah.
That's like
he's followed after the big
Chihuahua
dog
man.
Yeah.
I think
hey.
That might be a shirt idea.
Future merch.
Rye was also discussing for the podcast maybe a new type of call to action. What do you got planned, or was that also we want to keep that under wraps?
That one will be something maybe when we hit episode, because this is episode 16. So I'm thinking maybe like episode 25 or one of the bigger ones, episode 30 or something like that. We're gonna have some fun call to action, maybe some prizes or a prize.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that, folks.
Yeah.
And
but speaking of but if we want to hit a call to action though, it's like, why don't you guys just share this episode with your friends? But I mean,
Sean Connery.
Yeah, no, I was trying to switch it up there.
Welcome to The Rock. Now share the episode.
But share the episode. What we want to do is build our fan base. The more fans we have, then the sooner I can actually do this other call to action with giving out merch, because we're looking at merch. I'm designing merch, but we want to give out some of our merch to some of our great listeners there. And but to do that, we need to have a larger fan base. We need to have more people listening, subscribing. So hit that subscribe, hit that share, hit that like, hit that comment,
hit that follow.
Yep. And if you have any stories,
don't be afraid to contact us. Shoot us an email at TheLostFrequencyPodcast@gmail.com,
or contact us on Facebook at Rye Voss
or Tom Franklin,
like Neil did. Neil contacted me, reached out to me, and wow, he's got some great stories coming up. So
we have some great episodes also lined up coming up in the future. So stay tuned for those as well.
Yep. So if let's cut to the chase and jump to it.
And remember out there, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Lost Frequency Podcast, where we bring the periphery into focus.
All right, today on the Lost Frequency, we have Neil Ballas with us. With us today. So, Neil, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you? Well, I know or who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm in the group. I'm just kind of a nobody. I don't know. I've been my whole life I've been kind of just, I wouldn't say plagued, but experienced a lot of like just weird stuff and UFOs and UFO encounters from when I was a kid to getting older, and it kind of always gave me interest in like physics and engineering and stuff like that, and that's kind of how my brain works, problem solver. So I went to school for electrical engineering in hopes to like understand some of this phenomenon a little bit better, and also because I'm an audio nerd and just kind of a nerd in general, and um, but uh, but yeah, just always been interested in the topic, and always seen weird things, and I'm always looking at the skies and um, exploring dream worlds and just doing all sorts of stuff to try to further understand the weird things in this life.
Yeah, Neil, I do not think you're nobody. I think you're somebody.
You're in the
And,
periphery.
and Christina Aguilera said so.
Who said? Oh Jesus! Oh. No, that's awesome, man. It sounds like you got like a ton of experiences. You're saying with UFOs and everything. And you've taken the scientific approach to trying to figure this kind of decipher what you're seeing or what you're experiencing.
Yeah, yeah. I've always been. I wouldn't say. I mean, I wouldn't say believer or skeptic, but I've always been somebody that wants the truth, wants to know why things work and how things work, and my brain just needs to solve problems like that. And ever since I was a little kid, I've had experiences, and in fact, like when my mom told me when I was older that I used to sit in front of the window before going to bed, and I would be looking out the window, and my mom opened the door and she's like, "What is my weird child doing?" And she asked me, why are you sitting there? And I told her that I don't like it when they take me while I'm sleeping. I want to see them come. I want to watch them come. And my parents were religious and definitely not involved in the anything paranormal, UFO related, anything like that. And she was just like, "My child is super weird," and just kind of let it go. And she told me in passing, like almost like a joke, but it's something that really, I mean, I was like 3, maybe 4 years old when I was doing that, and like
Who says
it's
that? Like as a 3 or 4 year old, like
exactly.
who just comes up with this? There's definitely some substance or sustenance behind that.
Dude, Neil, if you were my kid, I would go out and buy some Nerf immediately and tape it on you. Because that's some scary shit, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, when she told me that, I mean, I do have memories of just looking out my window and up at the stars, but it's just, and I think the first UFO experience I had, I was maybe in second or third grade. I was with a friend of mine and his dad and his little sister, and we were walking down the beach, Crescent City, in Florida, and we'd walked on the beach for a good ways, and we saw a light in the sky that kind of just lit up, and then it disappeared, and it appeared up and to the left again, and then it disappeared, and then a little bit further up and to the left, and then it did this over and over again in like a zigzag pattern, and then the final like light that it gave off, it was like pretty bright, and then it looked like it just shot away, like it just flew away, like out into the ocean. And we all saw it, and my friend's dad was a lawyer, and he was very logical, and he was like, "Huh, maybe that was a firework." And we all were like, "Yeah, maybe it was a firework." But the whole time I was sitting there, I was like, fireworks don't fly away. Like that's
I was thinking more like a firefly with a jetpack.
yeah, and this was like really far out over the ocean too. Like it was kind of off the horizon, about like 30 degrees off the horizon, but a good ways out. And it was one of those things that when I saw it, I was like, I don't know, that doesn't seem normal. And as I got older,
I have a question, Neil, about that. Was it when it was zigzagging? Was it like moving closer, moving further away, or moving up?
it was moving up, and it
Okay.
didn't we couldn't see it move. It just like the light came on, and then it went off, and then it reappeared in a new spot, almost like it was teleporting. Um, and it seemed to just go slightly up, and it made like basically a Z pattern if you tilted the Z, like a diagonal pattern going up. And I think it flashed about like 9 times or so, and then zipped off.
And so for all our Canadian listeners, that's a Z. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. That was terrible. That was terrible.
But I think that was one of the things that really spawned my curiosity, and really got me looking at the skies, and trying to figure out, like, what did we see that night, and can I see something else like it, and just kind of always been looking up since then.
Yeah, and you got really strong neck muscles.
Yeah, I would say I'm along the same way. Like I always find myself always looking up, always looking up, and it's for a purpose. It's like, don't get me wrong, I love looking at the stars, but I always find it's for a purpose. I want to see something else. I want to see something more. I'm expecting to see something else or something more.
Yeah, yeah, same. And I feel like that part of that, the intention of that, does draw those things to us, like having the intention, like I want to see something, like show me something. I think we bring that to ourselves.
I could not agree more with that. And I almost find, and like every one of our guests and everyone that I've listened to on other podcasts, I find it's kind of almost like this intention. Once you kind of like something opens the door, it's like getting flung open, and it's like you're more and more open to it, and more start to happen. It's as if you are now like anointed. You're anointed with the UFOs, and you're anointed
Yeah.
with the paranormal, and you're anointed with the Bigfoot. Like these Bigfoot people who experience Bigfoot, they just it seems to snowball greater and greater. Or Dogman, as well. Like with
Right.
our previous guest, we had B Moss there. Her experiences just kind of seem to compound.
Do you think there's any way to maybe close the door?
I think so. Barton did. So
yes.
Barton Nunley, he said he forsake it all, or
I can't think of the word for
it was something along that line, and he kind of like canceled all his experiences, and he hasn't been able to experience anything since then.
It's a religious ceremony he did. He didn't like go to the corner of his house and say, "Bigfoot, be gone." It was something a little bit more than that.
It could be. I don't know. We'll have to ask him when he comes on. We'll have to ask him.
While we're having him on.
Yeah, related to that, actually, I have a really strong dream life. I'm like you, Rye. I'm like a dream walker, whatever you want to call it. I've been lucid dreaming since I was a little kid, practicing all sorts of things, like learning how to fly properly,
Of course.
digging and bringing up stuff from the subconscious while digging, yelling out in my dreams, like "Show me something funny," and it always works. But I've always lived this really rich dream life, and it kind of I kind of went to a point where I would meditate and try to bring myself into a lucid dream, and I was curious about it one time, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to start asking the universe, or asking any non-human intelligence out there, like, hey, come visit me, like come take me. And
Now, I have a question though. Was that prior to you falling asleep, or while you're in your dream state?
well, that is more like while meditating, heading
Okay.
into the dream state.
I've done the same thing. I've done the same thing. Actually, I have a fantastic story for another time about that.
Neil, there is no way I would ever do that. I mean, you literally have balls of steel, my friend. There's no way, dude.
Yeah, I was curious. I was curious to see what would happen, and I ended up started having a series of these
Seizures?
dreams that. Well, it was these series of dreams that felt very much like abduction experiences, and I'm very familiar with sleep paralysis. I went through some phases with that. I know the feeling of sleep paralysis, and I've used it to turn into lucid dreams by staying calm, trying not to open my eyes, trying not to move, and the paralysis will soon fade. Because they do say that if you wake up wake up from sleep and don't move a muscle, your body will fall back to sleep within about 5 or 6 seconds. And I think a lot of time people have problems with sleep paralysis where they try to fight it, and they try to move and try to open their eyes, and it ends up making the situation worse and causing panic, and like, I can't breathe, there's a being standing over me, all those type of things. And what I learned to do is to just stay very calm when realizing that I was having or experiencing sleep paralysis, and focus on keeping my consciousness awake while letting my body relax. And I would slip into a lucid dream, usually picturing a door or a tree, and just thinking to myself, show me more detail, give me more detail, and the tree will come to life, and then I can will myself towards it, and head directly into that dream. So I was very used to sleep paralysis, but these experiences I started having in my dreams were a sensation of being grabbed and pulled upwards, and I would have sensation of vibration across my entire body that felt like my skin was being pulled out and pushed in at the same time, and it felt like I was moving through molasses. And one of the things that I would ask my meditation would be to let me remember. And this voice would start appearing like while in my head, and it was usually a feminine, like soft voice that would say, you asked to remember and this is all you can handle. And usually right after that I would snap back and I would be awake and I'd be in bed and everything would be like, just it was like being yanked out of a dream instead of just coming out of one. um, and that experience started happening over and over again. And it would start sometimes where in my dream I'd see these craft flying around, these lights in the sky, and they would create these like blue and purple portals. And when the portal would open, I would be pulled towards it and pulled into it. And it was usually right before entering the portal I would get that voice saying, you asked to remember, and this is all you can handle. And there was one specific lucid dream, and this is going back to what we were talking about closing the gate. There was one dream I was having. I was in a forest, and it was lucid. I knew I was dreaming. I was jumping around. I was really enjoying it. And this started to happen again. I saw the lights. I saw the portal opening, and I thought with everything I had, I was like, no, 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 not today, please, no, not today. I don't want to do this. And the sensation slowly went away, and I got placed back down, and then all the lights of the portal closed and they disappeared, and I was just back into my lucid dream. And when I did that, that was the last time that it happened to me for probably like 6 to 8 months. And it was happening usually once a week, and then it just stopped happening after that case.
Dude, you need to make Inception 2 as you as the star, bro. That was I had a hard time following it. Well, once again, I always say, which is the wrong way to say it, which is supposed to be inside baseball, but I'm going to say behind baseball, which I don't know what that is. But I've been up for 36 hours with 2 hours of sleep, so I'm a little fucking goofy today.
But,
yeah, there's a reason, but that's
so where are you going with this? Where are you going with this?
In other words, if you keep hearing a bunch of silly Billy shit from me, it's because I'm.
But yeah,
weary.
That is fantastic though with those dreams.
Man, that was hard to follow.
Oh no, that was amazing. That was amazing, and
it was amazing.
I know.
Yeah, and I think something too that really got me recently, because this happened probably 8 or 9 years ago, maybe more than that. But recently I was listening to that U.F.O podcast, and they had a guest. Her name was Robin Lassiter, and she was telling her story. And I had never really thought what I experienced was actual abductions. To me, it was like, well, this is just my dream life is so wild and crazy. It's just another one of my weird dreams. I never really considered that it was an actual abduction experiences. But I listened to her story, and some of the details in her story were the same things I saw. And as I was listening to her talk, it really freaked me out. Like, hearing her experiences sync up with what I experienced. And I ended up getting in communication with her and chatting back and forth. And yeah, the more we talked, the more it was like, maybe something was happening, and maybe it wasn't a physical abduction. Maybe it was an abduction of our consciousness or something.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
This sounds oddly like something like a collective unconscious.
Yeah, like that's really interesting, because like I heard this before too, that sometimes your dreams are, almost placed. These dreams are kind of created to hide or to cover up that you actually were abducted. And it's funny because when I heard that was about, I would say about 4 years ago, and I started going, because I try to keep up with my dream journal. I got about, I don't know how many, I got about close to like 400, 500 pages of dreams that I've written down. And I was trying to find one where it was very reminiscent of another episode. I forget which podcast I was listening to at that time, but it was a description of an abduction that I dreamt very similar to the same abduction that they described in this one episode. but I didn't find it. I actually stumbled on something else. But when I was looking for this, I actually stumbled upon a dream that I had experienced, and 4 years to the day of specific of that dream, it actually happened. So I dreamt that dream
wow.
4 years ago, like 4 years prior to that, and that actual event happened 4 years to the actual day of that dream. And that's when I got distracted. It's like squirrel, but I think that was it was a flashy squirrel. It was a very flashy squirrel when you're getting distracted that you predicted something 4 years to the day. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so I had this break where that those experiences stopped happening after I asked. I was like, no, please, not today. Not today. And I had a really close friend, somebody that like I grew up with, like pretty much a brother of mine. And his dad was like another father figure in my life, and we were in Boy Scouts together and all that. And his dad passed of cancer, and I had this dream that was lucid. It triggered lucid, and I was in a building, and I'm like, all right, well, let me find a window because I don't like buildings in my lucid dreams. I want to go fly. I want to go explore. And I went heading to the window, and my friend showed up, and he was in a panic. And I was like, I don't know what kind of like subconscious drama is trying to go down here, but nope. And I'm really good at blipping people away in my dreams. I can just look at them and be like, go away, and they just vanish. And it's kind of disturbing, but I'm really good at it. I've practiced it a lot.
It's very Neo-esque of you.
Yeah. So I'm heading to this window, and then his dad steps in front of me, and I'm like, the trauma was still pretty recent, and like he had passed maybe a month or two, or maybe 2 months prior. And I was like, no, I don't want to trigger this. It was pretty hard to go through. So I tried to blip him away, and he stopped me, and he said, no, you have no power of me. You can't control me here. You can't do that. He's like, I need to tell you something. You need to send a message to my son. And it freaked me out because I was like, oh, this is my dream. I can do whatever I want. And it just wasn't happening. I couldn't do anything to him. And he gave me this message, and he had some personal stuff, and then other aspects were that we're going to be okay. That he's, his son's going to be okay, that I'm going to be okay. And he was very religious, and he said that like when I got here, it wasn't what I expected. Things were different, but it's fine. And where I'm going, I can't explain it to you, and you would never understand it, but I won't be able to communicate anymore. So if you could just pass this on now, I would appreciate it. And then I was just like, okay. And he was like, all right, well, go on now. Like, get back to your dream and just let me go. And I continued my dream, and I woke up, and I didn't want to say anything to my friend because I was like, it's just a dream. It was stupid. Like, there's nothing. It's just whatever. I have weird dreams, and it's just my subconscious bringing up that past trauma and all that. And it was a month or two after that, my friend was getting ready to move out of the country. He was going to go live in Egypt, and he came over to say goodbye, and we were hanging out and talking, and we had gotten on some emotional conversation, and I brought it up, and I was like, hey, I gotta tell you something, just in case this is real. And I mentioned, I was like, well, your dad came to me in a dream, and he stopped me, and he's like, oh yeah, he did. He came to you in a dream, and oh, what, did he have a message for me? Yeah, no, I've already heard this. I heard it from my sister. He came to her too, and then I heard it from my grandma. I don't need to hear it again. Don't want to talk about it.
What?
And yeah, that shook me to the core. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, what? He said we're going to be okay, that I'm going to be okay. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. And he just kind of blew it off. And that really got me.
Of course.
And it yeah, I was like, I need a drink.
True.
That is
Sounds-
crazy.
it's like
And
it's-
he's like, and his confirmation, that it actually did happen. He's telling you multiple people have had the same experience. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't believe it because when his sister's kind of I don't know, she's dramatic, and when she first told him, when she first told him, he was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then his grandmother had the exact same story, and that's when it really hit him emotionally, and it hurt pretty bad. So when I then brought it up, he was like, "Yeah, I don't need to go back there again." He's like,
Fair
I already
enough.
know, don't need to go there." So, but I have, I mean, my dream life is kind of crazy, and there's only been 2 different times that I've encountered beings in dreams that I couldn't control, or 3 actually. One wasn't a being, but one I encountered this man in a lucid dream, and I was kind of flying around. I was blasting stuff with electricity, and I tried to blast this guy, and he just stopped me, and he was like, no, you can't do that to me. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, you're just a manifestation of my subconscious. I can do whatever I want. And he was like, I'm not a manifestation, and I'm just popping in here to check some things out. And he said some stuff that I don't really remember that well, but it was the general gist of it was that he was talking about that he travels through dreams, kind of like that the Sandman character or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, so I'm just popping in, just saying hey, and he's like, keep doing what you're doing, have fun. And then he just woof, just gone, like just shot away and was gone. And I was like, all right, like that's kind of weird, like, but all right, later.
Your dreams sound like a superhero movie or something. You're over there like zapping stuff like Raiden from Mortal Kombat, and this dude
I've had a lot of practice.
I can see it. Like, oh, don't you get tired? Like, can you like sleep in your dreams? Like, you're zapping these people, and you just like, can I stop at the hotel for like an hour and just get a nap? Jeez.
Yeah. No, to me, it's I really I get a lot of rest in my lucid dreams, and I typically, if I have one in a night, if I can trigger one, then what usually happens, if sometimes I'll get too excited in the dream, and I'll start to, it's like it fades to black, and I know I'm waking up, but I just stay really still, and I picture a doorway, and when I see the doorway, I start willing myself to move through the doorway, and I'll slip back into a lucid
Can
dream.
I ask you a question, Neil? My
Yeah.
question is like, if you're doing all this lucid dreaming and this, that, and the other, but do you find that this reality is like slipperier, or like do you find that maybe this is also a dream and more like in somebody else's imagination, or what's your take on that?
Well, I kind of wish this was a dream, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of people I'd like to blip out of existence.
Did you hear that, Trump? Did you hear it?
But yeah, no, I mean, I think
I can think of like a half a dozen more people before.
That's just the first one I can pull up. That's all
I
I
know.
can. That's
I would think about it, but
I'm going base
Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
2 hours of sleep here.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think you do have a point though, that it does kind of blur reality, or give reality more almost like possibilities. Like maybe there's, like, with what I can do in my dreams, maybe there's possibilities that our reality is actually more than what we visibly are aware of. But there was
You're like working at McDonald's at the fry later or whatever, and like you look at the fries and then they turn into lightning bolts, and you're just like, "Am I dreaming, or did I order the number 2?"
This is another side of it. Is like, let's say you're working at McDonald's and you're like, "This stinks. I can't wait to get to sleep," and then fly around and zap
I
everybody.
like your positive take on it, right?
Exactly. No, I mean, that I'm right there. Like, there was a time in my life where I had a really, really rough stretch, and I was like, I would love to go to sleep so that I could just escape this reality and go into one that's a little bit
It's
more
like the
fun.
best VR ever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Good analogy.
Sorry. Immersive technology.
Immersive technology. Who knows? Maybe that's exactly what's happening. It's like, this is immersive technology that our consciousness right now in this reality. But when we go, our consciousness, I don't know. Goes
Are you
into
saying
a
I'm
dream.
wearing a headset?
Yeah, you could be. You could be lying in a pod wearing a headset, and then when you dream, you're dreaming. Your avatar is dreaming a dream.
I do want a hole in the back of my head, like like Neo. That way, when I go through airport security, they're gonna have issues.
Yeah, we're all just playing our own game of Roy.
Exactly,
Roy, that's a great reference.
Yeah.
Great reference, Neil.
Oh.
So you were telling us, I don't know if we don't move on from this. You want to move on from this, Neil?
Well, he was telling us about the people that he had run into. Do you want to touch on?
Yeah, there was one more event that really got me. Is I was in a pool in a dream. It was a lucid dream as well, and I was practicing breathing underwater. Because that's something that's kind of interesting in a dream. You go underwater, you actually hold your breath, and in a lucid dream, you're like, no, I can breathe here, and it takes a bit, but you can definitely do it. And I got out of this pool, and then all of a sudden there was a huge craft, metallic craft over top of me, maybe in my dream 20 feet off the ground, and it was probably I don't know, 50 meters wide or so, and it picked me up and it set me down on my knees and it forced my head to the ground, and I couldn't move. I couldn't move a muscle in my dream, and this is 100%. I know I'm dreaming, and I can't do anything at all. And this voice just started talking to me, and it was telling me things like telling me that these dreams, the lucid dreams, are a gift, and that they need to be respected, but I can also have fun with them, but don't take these things too lightly. And then it also said that if I see crafts in my dreams, that I should leave them alone, don't interact with them, don't engage them or anything like that. And it was a very stern, almost like a shakedown. And I was freaking out about it, and then it basically was like, okay, so that's about it. Just be respectful, appreciate what you have. And then it blipped away, it was gone, and then I could move about and I could do whatever I wanted from there. And probably about a year later, I ended up seeing a craft in my dream, and I was like shooting like lasers out of my hands, and I just was jokingly like, haha. And I went to go shoot it, and I got knocked on my ass, and I got taken right out of the dream. And when I woke up, it was like somebody had kicked me in the chest.
Really?
And I was like, oh, I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that.
maybe I should have listened.
Maybe I should have
You
listened.
should have listened.
Yeah.
Dude, imagine you come out, you get out of a pool like that movie Abyss, and you get up on the surface, and then like a craft puts you in a jujitsu hold, and is like, Eddie Bravo is your master. Don't mess with Eddie Bravo, and then you mess with Eddie Bravo. Neil, no lasers.
Yeah, I know, but I'm a rebel, so I'm always
nice.
I'm like,
Pushing
fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
Exactly. Race against the flying machines.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, my dream life has always been like almost more real sometimes than my than my real life.
Hey everyone, this is Rye from the Lost Frequency Podcast, and we're sending a signal out to you for help. We need you to leave a review for our podcast on Apple or Google or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. That little bit of your time goes a long way for us. Also, don't forget to share it to your friends, your family, to your coworkers, to whomever you want to share it with. Just go ahead and share it. All right, let's tune back into the Lost Frequency and continue with our show.
But my real life has been filled with these crazy experiences too, and I think my craziest UFO experience that I had. If you guys want to hear about that one was
Sure,
Of course.
Yeah, it was, I remember the date. It was July 27th, 2012, and it was between 3 and 4 a.m. I didn't have my phone on me, so my phone was actually inside playing music for outside, but I turned all the lights off in the house. I was on a back like deck with no lights around, very little light pollution in the area, and no clouds whatsoever, and watching one of the most epic meteor showers I'd ever seen in my entire life. I stopped counting around like 60 or so because there were just so many going off.
I think that's the Pleiades meteor shower.
No, that's called the Taurid meteor shower.
That's the Taurid. Oh,
but it was incredible. And so I'm sitting there enjoying that, and enjoying the music that's playing. I was listening to some like dark ambient stuff, Lustmord, if anybody's familiar, just really cool, creepy music. It's awesome.
He would be
I
into
really
that.
like psychedelic doom metal, but sure, I can probably check it out.
Yeah, actually, Lustmord, he's worked with some like metal artists, and actually he did the Tool album 10,000 Days. Um, he did a lot of like backing samples on that album, but he mostly does like dark ambient stuff, and it's
Oh, cool.
just usually creepy stuff, but it's awesome. But so while I'm sitting there, over the roof of this house, I see these two red disc-shaped objects that, if you took a nickel and put it at arm's length, they were about that size, but they were probably about, uh, I don't know, maybe about like 300, 400 feet off the ground, and about 1,000 feet away from me. And they were like saucers. Like if you took a plate and turned it upside down and put it on top of itself, that's what they looked like. They had a flat top, flat bottom, a very sharp edge, and they were red and semi-opaque. So you almost could see through them, but not really. You could definitely tell it was a solid form. They emitted a red light, but it wasn't like a street light that would have a halo coming off of it. It was a very self-contained red glow. And like I said, there were no clouds, so it wasn't like something shining off the ground up into the sky. It wasn't anything like that, and they were very much objects, and very defined edges to them. And while they're flying silently, probably, I mean, they were moving pretty quick, but not anything crazy. Probably a couple 100 miles an hour, so maybe just a little bit less than that. And then I'm looking at them. I'm looking at them, and I thought to myself, I was like, "Do something crazy, so I know this is real." Like real in a sense that like this wasn't just a light on the ground. This wasn't, and this is 2012, so it wasn't like drones were flying around then. And these were, I mean, pretty big based on the distance away from me and the size they appeared in the sky. I'd say they probably school bus diameter, maybe. But the moment I thought, do something crazy so I know this is real, the two objects merged together into one. And they didn't get bigger, they didn't change shape, they just merged together. And then it was almost as if the front of the craft fired a laser beam and the rear snapped after it. But it was really just that it flew off so fast that my brain could not process it. And it just looked like a laser streak, just boom, gone, almost like what you would see like if like the Enterprise or something took off at warp, like where it stretched and then launched after it. But it happened in an instant, and it was right after thinking, do something crazy. So I saw this, and I immediately had to tell somebody. But it's like 3:30 in the morning, so I call a friend of mine who he worked night shifts, and I knew he was a loser like me and would be awake, and and, and so I call him up and I just tell him, I'm like, hey man, I saw something that was really odd. It flew your way. Take a look in the sky and tell me if you see anything, anomalous. And he was like, okay, well, he lived on an airport with a grass runway, and lived actually in an airplane hangar, and was a pilot. And so he was walking downstairs to go and look at this meteor shower. And he called me back probably 20, 30 minutes later, and he was like, hey, I see this red like light in the sky. And he's like, it's really high up, probably about 10,000 feet or so. It's above the runway, and it's just hovering. And he's like, it wasn't there 5 minutes ago. And I'm like, okay. And I never told him it was red what I saw. I just said I saw something crazy and it was, anomalous. And so then he's watching it. And while he was watching it, he said that it just he was like, whoa, it's just shot up into space. And the way he described it was that it just almost instantly teleported with a streak up into space and was gone. And it really made me think, because then I told him exactly what I saw, and he was like, wow, yeah, that sounds similar to the whatever it was I saw, just at a much higher altitude. And it was heading in the direction of where he was at relative to me, across town. And something that I thought was interesting about it was kind of the consciousness connection of it, that the moment I thought to myself, do something crazy, it did some crazy ass shit. And then I think me calling my friend somehow linked our consciousness to draw the craft to him. And that that part of it, that aspect of it, really makes me wonder, like, what if they can tap into our consciousness, and what if they can follow it, or are attracted to it for some reason, or is our consciousness manifesting them? You know.
I agree with you. We had Pat, who was on an episode 9, when he said when
Mhm.
he saw this thing flying, he saw something flying over the Sierra Mountains, and when he told his friends, like he said, first of all, it was something drew his attention. He's like, I had to look at this way, and then when he saw it and he told his friends about it, that's when it stopped and started racing towards them, and it was like, again, I know he was said it out loud, but it's like your consciousness is like calling to it, it's beckoning to it, and that's kind of maybe on the principle of like the CE5 kind of principle of
Yeah.
you calling in these crafts. I have a question though as well, Neil. Where did this sighting take place?
This took place in Ocala, Florida. It's like central
Okay, so in
Florida.
Florida still, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. North of Orlando by about an hour and a half or so. Um, kind of not a big city, not a small city. It's like in between. But this was kind of outskirts, what they call the Silver Spring Shores. Um, and I've seen quite a bit of stuff out in that area. At that house specifically.
Interesting. That's really really amazing though, and I agree with you. Like they are linked together when you're saying that. It's like when you messaged your friend. It's like as if you tapped in and subconsciously created this link between you and him and this red UFO. This glowing red UFO. It created this link and it showed up there. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and that whole sighting, like, it was just so the details that I saw, because I've seen things that, oh, look, that looks like a satellite, and then I watch it and it makes like a hard 90-degree turn. It's like, okay, that was anomalous, but it doesn't have the same impact as something that was as close as these were, and how crisp and defined the edges of it were. It was like incredibly detailed, and that aspect of it just really blew my mind. And at that same house, one of my friends he was a big skeptic for the longest time, and when I told him about that experience, he was like, yeah, okay, how much were you drinking, how much do you smoke? And I was like, actually, I wasn't, but even still, like, I'm sorry, you can be high and like you don't see crazy shit like that.
I was thinking big skeptic, Neil. We don't fat shame here.
Yeah, we don't fact shame. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he over time, I would constantly talk to him about different things I'd seen. And one night we were sitting hanging out, and it was pretty late, and he just was like, the fuck is that? And there was this object that the shape of it was like a seahorse-ish. It wasn't extremely defined like what I'd seen before, but it was definitely not an object that looked like it should be flying. And behind it, there was a light that was oscillating up and down, traveling at the same velocity, but trailing just behind it. And it was silent, a couple 100 feet off the ground, and just kind of went across the sky, and we watched it. And uh we tried to get his wife to come out and see it too, but she had like passed out on the couch. And so we both just watched this thing just move across the sky, and it was like it wasn't, it didn't do anything crazy like launch off, but it was just something that wasn't normal. Like, that's not a normal flying object that you see. And after a few things of seeing stuff, he started to be like, you know what? Maybe maybe there's something to this. And I'm like, all right, hang out with me enough, you
Maybe you're
see
not
stuff.
full of shit that I thought you were. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would have woke her up.
Now,
I'd been like, honey, look, a seahorse. And she would have woke up and it'd been like, ah!
now is this the same friend that you had that other experience with that you're gonna tell us about there?
Which one?
The one that you have a video of, your CCTV.
Oh, the missing
Yes.
time. No, that was somebody different. And I wish I still had the video.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, we had a falling out a while back. That was probably around like 2010. But it was it was a good friend of mine at the time. Kind of turned into an asshole, but whatever. Um,
It happens. It
we
happens.
yeah, we'd hang out a lot, and on his back porch, we'd drink and smoke and just chill, watch TV and stuff. And um, yeah, this one day we put on some show, and this is 2010 era, so it was like previously on Lost or whatever, and whatever the show was.
How ironic if it
And
really was Lost. If it really was.
yeah,
Flintstones,
right.
meet the Flintstones.
That's 80s. That's like 80s, but
Yeah, right.
Never heard of reruns?
But it went straight from our perspective. It was like previously on, and then it was like next time on.
Whoa.
And when it did that, we both looked at each other and we were like, what the hell? And now we had both just grabbed our first beer of the night and we had set it down. He had packed a bowl and was like ready to go. And then all of a sudden this happens and we're like, dude, the DVR fucked up or something, because DVR days. And and then I look down and I see our beer has like a massive puddle of where it's just sweating. This is Florida again, so it's the summertime. It's humid as shit. So our beers had just sweat a whole lot, and the bowl wasn't smoked, and we just were looking around like, this shit just happened. So he started rewinding the DVR, and as he's rewinding, you can see the entire show taking place, but we didn't see any of it. And so we're both still really confused. Our beers are definitely warm by now. And I'm like, dude, you've got cameras all out here. Like, let's watch the cameras. Let's see what happens. And sure enough, we play the cameras back, and there's a missing period of about 30 minutes where not missing, I'm sorry, but there's a period of 30 minutes on there where we are frozen and we don't move. And the video wasn't frozen because you can see the TV in the background playing the entire episode, but we don't move a muscle. And I have severe ADD, and I'm always bouncing my leg. I'm always fidgeting with something. I'm moving around. I'm doing things. I can never just sit still. And I sat perfectly still for 30 minutes on that tape. And then there's
and
a point
being a
where
fellow guy that has ADD, I know exactly about like the leg twitching or or moving or something. Like I'm always tapping my leg or something, and for 30 minutes sitting there, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And yet I was, and so was he. And he didn't spark up a cigarette. He didn't light the bowl. He didn't crack open his beer, nothing. And then there's a point where we both just look at each other immediately, and you can tell we just snapped back. And that's when we had our whole conversation of trying to figure out what happened. And
Neil, you need to mend fences, bury the hatchet, kick the witch in the butt, whatever wording you need to get this tape back. Hey, I'll tell you what, I will go over there and paint this guy's garage so I can get this tape.
Yeah. But it was, we played it for people and we showed them. We were like, look, we don't move for this whole time. And everybody's like, oh, you guys, you planned that. Like, you guys are, that's something you would do. And it's like, why would we do that? Like, I couldn't sit still for 5 minutes if I tried to. Like, I'm not going to be like, hey, let's do some prank where I have to sit still for 30 minutes. That's the last thing on my mind to try to do for a prank or something, But it was.
I agree. Like, that's extremely strange. Like, just to stop and watching the video, I'm sure you watched it 100 times, but was there anything out of the ordinary, or perhaps
nothing,
or perhaps maybe in your dream state, maybe that night or later on, was there anything, any type of different activities that happened associated with it, maybe?
No, and that's the part that like kind of really bothers me. Like I've actually wanted to do like a
regression.
What do they call it? Yeah, regression hypnosis.
Yeah.
For it, just to see if something happened. But I mean, our bodies are there; they don't move, and there was no like glitching on the recording. Everything was just completely normal. It's just not normal, and it really, really bothered us. But it also made me wonder, like, again, going back to the consciousness aspect of things, like maybe it was an abduction of consciousness. Maybe it was that it wasn't necessarily a physical body abduction like we hear about, happening.
That reminds me of it kind of has like this, I don't know. I think of my mind drifts off to this movie. If you ever seen the movie Dark City.
Yes.
They stop the time. Exactly. And the time stops, and they stop it. And everybody just kind of and just done, and they don't move. They come and, whether they change everybody's memories and I wonder if it has something to do. I'm not saying it's that, but I'm wondering if there is like a time stop or a slip. I don't know. It's so strange.
Yeah.
So strange.
Yeah, and yeah, things like that really get me to the whole paranormal aspect as well. Like, because like I had an experience once coming home, and I walked in the house. I went to the kitchen, got some water, and then I had a couple cats that were like greeting me, and so I laid on the floor. And I left the kitchen. I was in a different room, and I was laying on the floor playing with them, and they both fluffed up and looked at the kitchen. That always makes me laugh because cats are ultra cute when they fluff up. But one of them ran and hid, and then the other one was like slowly starting to walk to the kitchen. And I'm like, I was there alone, and it was pretty late at night, and so I was like, I hope nobody's in here. And I got up to walk into the kitchen, and every single cabinet door was wide open. I didn't hear a sound. I didn't hear anything. The cats obviously heard something, but I didn't hear anything at all.
They heard
And
the
yet all these
maid.
cabinet doors were open. But I had full body chills and was just like,
Now,
I was like,
is that paranormal or is that alien?
yeah, like, who knows? Or is it
or are they
interdimensional?
Exactly. Are they interlaced
Yeah.
between each other?
Yeah, is there a thin veil between them, or are they one and the same? Like, is paranormal just a thin distortion between multiple dimensions, or dimensions that are like on a harmonic of each other?
And now
But
this event, was that at that one house that you had all those other experiences at that you're talking about?
no, actually, it wasn't. That was at my basically my childhood home.
Okay.
That was like in my college age, but I definitely spoke out to whatever it was. I was like, "Hey, man, we're cool. I'm just gonna close these if that's okay."
Yeah, you got everything you need. Is it? Who knows? You might find some Nordics in your kitchen picking through your fridge or something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And telling you about your previous experiences.
Exactly.
We have a couple minutes left. I don't think we have enough time to get into the salvia stuff that I would love to get into. But we have 3-4 minutes left. I don't know. Maybe you want to touch on that, or would you like to talk about something else and have you back on? Or
Yeah, actually, there's one salvia trip that really blew my mind.
Let's hear it.
I was sitting with a friend, and we had we were sitting on the floor in his living room, and he was really good about like sitting for somebody who's tripping. He wasn't like those people that are like, I'm gonna film you doing stupid stuff. And so he let me take a real nice huge rip, and I immediately went into another life where I was a hunter and gatherer, and I had a life partner with me, and we went around and we trapped animals. We collected like fruits and berries and stuff off of plants. We set up these elaborate like mazes to get creatures to go into them and lock them in to make it easier to hunt them. And we did all this stuff, and I had this whole life that I lived. I remember going through times when it was snowing, and I've lived in Florida my whole life. I've never been in the snow, but I knew what it was like, and I knew what the frost eating away at my feet felt like. And I had this whole life experience. And then I was in my trip. I'm sitting at a campfire, and my friend was gone, and he wasn't around anymore, and I missed him, and I was like, man, I want my companion back. I lost him. And then in my trip still, I started to see that there was somebody there, and I realized, I was like, wait, we just smoked some shit, but I'm still in my trip. I'm still in this other life. And I'm like, oh, we just smoked some stuff. He's not gone. He's right here. And he's laughing at me. And then I came out of the trip, and then I see my friend, and I'm like, oh my God, but I lived an entire life, and I still have memories that feel like an entire existence, an entire life lived as a hunter gatherer. And just from one salvia trip,
That is legendary, man.
Yeah, by far the most bizarre salvia trip. But then, like I was saying before, like I was saying before, other times I've done it and hit some salvia. And next thing you know, I'm waiting in line at the bank for like 5 minutes before it wears off. So it's like, the shit is this?
Oh, of course, of course. Now, yeah, it's almost like you did a past life regression. And you know what? Neil, we definitely need you back on. Today we have to wrap it up a little bit quicker than normal, but I know you got a ton more stories, and we say this with just about all our guests. But all our guests are fantastic. So I want to say thank you for coming on, and we definitely are going to have you back, Neil.
No problem.
It was all our pleasure to have you on. The stories or your experiences. I don't like calling them stories because their experiences were fantastic.
Yeah, well, thanks. I definitely enjoyed it too. You guys are great. Really enjoyed listening to the podcast, and I'm hoping to actually try to do some CE5 with some friends coming up here when the weather gets a little bit better. And maybe I'll have something crazy to tell you about that.
Exactly. Well, all right, Neil, we want to say thank you very much for having you, for coming on, and we will talk to you later, my friend.
All right, awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Neil Ballas, and what a top shelf interview! I think it was legendary. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I was telling him after the show, because he was such a great orator, such a great laugh, great references, the most self-deprecating guest we've ever had, which makes me happy.
Right on par with you, Tom.
Right on par with me. Me and Neil can hang out, but no funny dream stuff, Neil. Okay, because I'm not into that.
Maybe some salvia, though.
No, I'm not into salvia either.
Oh,
I'll stick to my weed and my beer. And I've heard some crazy stuff about salvia, where a guy he smoked it. He turned into liquid and then turned into droplets of water onto the floor, and then can see himself drip through the floorboards. No, thank you, Rye. Cool. No, thank you, Rye. I'd rather.
That sounds
anything.
pretty interesting. Imagine that experience, though.
I'd rather do anything. I'd rather hit my finger with a hammer.
Okay.
There's no way, dude.
Why not, though?
No.
Man, experiencing yourself becoming
liquid.
And
then what if someone turns on the freezer?
Then you become solid.
Wow. Science lessons from Ryan.
I'm
glad I said you're right.
Actually, you know what, though? It kind of... it brings me back to a story I had from... I used to work in... I used to work for a company called Aureus. They were fire, flood, reclamation, and cleaning up dead bodies. Because someone's got to do it, right? So I was the on-staff plumber, because I was a plumber in a previous life.
Would you find an arm stuck in the toilet? No.
So I would ask some of the managers to be like, so tell me an experience. Tell me something that you found. And she told me,
oh, God.
Oh, yeah. She said that they got a phone call from this one person living in an apartment saying that they think there's a leak up above because there's something dripping from the ceiling. And so they... Well, I think it wasn't that company they called. They called like... I don't know, like the building management. The building management, actually. So the building management called this company, and this company went into there, and it wasn't water dripping.
I know.
Yeah, it was
pee-pee.
The person turned. No.
Oh.
No, it was a person who had turned into liquid. Because they were dead for so long, they turned into liquid.
God.
And dripped through the ceiling.
Why do you want to hear these stories, Rye?
It's like a train wreck. It's morbid. It's a morbid fascination.
The person dropped dead?
The person was dead for probably like weeks.
Oh.
And they liquefied.
Holy crap.
So that's what happens, because we're 80% water or 88% water, something like that. So
that's gross. I wouldn't want to know that. I wouldn't want to know that. I was like, hey, this one time I found a foot in the chimney. I'm like,
oh, actually,
not Santa Claus.
Yeah, no, but there actually is a feet washing up in BC, in the British Columbia on the coast. There was feet in shoes washing up on the shore, and they found, like, I don't know how many if anybody, any of our listeners wants to, correct this, or not necessarily correct this, but add to this, let us know, in the comments of this episode on Spotify, write in how many feet were found, and do that. That's
the higher the number, the bigger the shock.
Exactly. Shock value.
So what was your favorite part about the interview?
I want to say, I'm so, lucid dreaming for me is amazing. I do some of that myself, nowhere near to the ability that Neil has there, but that was amazing. But the loss of time, the time loss.
Yeah, that was weird, man.
Yeah.
So
where they're sitting there, and then next thing you know, it's like, okay, it's the end of the show. What just happened?
Yeah, it's like they turn into like wax figurines or something all of a sudden.
Yep.
Something crazy like that. I wouldn't know. Did you imagine me and you go to, we go to, I'm over your house, we're having a beer. It's like,
or no. Imagine us doing the podcast.
Oh, we just freeze?
And we're doing this outro. We're like.
But that wouldn't work because what if the person we're interviewing also freezes on the other side?
Well, let's say it wasn't, if we're doing like the outro or the intro, right?
Oh, wow.
And then all of a sudden we're just like.
There's dead air.
And then we just keep talking, and then we go back to I go back to edit it.
Why are you wishing?
I'm
this,
like,
Ryan?
why was there a half hour of us not saying
Ryan,
anything?
Please don't make it real for me. I don't want that at all.
I don't want it.
My favorite part was
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Yeah, Dorothy is going bye. But my favorite part is that he was saying that he was flying so fast that his mind couldn't keep up with how fast he was moving.
But that was after our interview, we talked for a little bit more. And
no, that was on there, wasn't it?
No. That was
after?
That was after, yeah.
Okay, well, I guess
Neil
was
telling us.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So after the interview, Neil was telling about how in one of his lucid dreams, he was flying so fast that he was able, his brain could not create the realities fast enough. And there was like a black void coming towards him because he was flying so fast that it just could not be created. So he was flying faster than creation. It's interesting.
A really cool allegory of how the universe expanded into nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's something, there's stuff, and then there's the nothing. I always thought about that too. Like they always say the universe created from nothing.
Yeah.
But nothing is something. If not, we wouldn't have a word to describe it.
But that's a whole another bag of worms if we want to get into creation. And,
it is because he's creating his reality.
Yeah,
within
but
the
I'm
subconscious.
not talking that. I'm talking the universe expanding at an exponential rate. Science tells us that, but how does science? Here's the question: how does science know that actually is happening? How do they know that this universe is expanding at an exponential rate, and when's it going to actually stop and start to recede on itself? Does that happen?
Don't they measure the red light shift?
I don't know.
I thought they look at a distant star and then they can see that it's actually moving away because when you get the light here, it's like somehow stretched towards the red end of the spectrum of the electromagnetic spectrum. Trust me, Tom is not going to be up on top of the Keck Observatory anytime soon.
Well,
Tom,
that being said,
in a fucking lab coat telling her, do the calculations.
No, okay, so fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think we should hear someone from the other side talk about maybe this not being a...
What do you mean the other side, right?
Well, I'm talking the flat.
Oh, the flat Earth.
Yes. So I have someone lined up for coming on and talking about flat Earth. We have to give credence to everything. We are only believing what we are told, and sometimes the science lies.
I think
sometimes the government lies, and we know NASA as well.
I think George Lundgren put it the best. There's more evidence of flat Earth than there is of $1 billion. Cash.
Yeah.
Or he put it in a different way, but I thought it was a really great analogy. I think that's the word, right?
Allegory? Analogy?
Allegory, I nailed that one.
Yeah.
I know allegory. I listen to a lot of Tool. So
I actually so I do have someone coming on and they're going to lay it out and we're here to listen. I'm very interested in it. I would say, I'm more on the flat Earth side than I am on the globe side.
I'm in the middle.
I know you are. I know you are.
Middle.
Yeah, but I'm also a possibility on that the Earth is actually a lot bigger than what we're being told.
Yeah, extraterrestrial. We brought that up before.
Yeah, extra land.
It's the thing that makes no sense is why is Antarctica like this treaty where you can't even get
off limits? I heard Russia is backing out of this.
Yeah, what does that mean? What is the implications of that?
Yeah.
What are the implications of said backing out of treaty. Ryan, you have the floor.
Well, let me go here and say Russia could then let it all out.
Oh, do you think this is maybe like why there's this big NATO push, World War III nuclear stuff? Because they don't want that to be released? Like that information?
Nah, I actually believe that the world powers are all playing ball together.
Wow.
I believe that, you know...
Oh, they're the globetrotters.
And I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, but I almost think that, you know, people are cannon fodder. It's to them, we're expendable. We really are a resource.
It's like this, guys. They're the globetrotters and we're the Washington Generals. We will never win, but will we? Because eventually the globetrotters, they're all dead. And no one watches them anymore.
Unless they're vampires.
Oh, you mean like a dude who bites a ball and sucks the air out of it?
No. I'm saying if they're vampires and they remain lifeless, like the living undead, you know, where they don't age, and maybe they slightly age, but then they regress and go younger again.
Like
we're way
no, don't worry about it. Dick Clark rules.
But that being said, you know, like there is some photographic evidence, I would say, when we look back and granted, like I feel after you have like billions of people, there's people going to start looking like each other. But there is people in some of these old pictures and old paintings that look like famous people, like Nicolas Cage, Mark Zuckerberg.
Really?
100%.
I haven't even looked at that. That sounds interesting. That's
really
you got to send me that stuff.
Yeah. So it's like, are they aging? And it almost seems like some of them are aging. They're aged gracefully. We'll say like, they age gracefully.
This definitely excludes Madonna, right?
That's a whole other thing.
I don't know what that is.
So, but let's say they age gracefully, and then they get to a point where they kind of just almost disappear. They fade away. Well, could they not be? We're getting into some weird stuff, but like cloned and, you know, transported, or their consciousness put into another body that is a clone of them. And I've heard a lot of talk about clones.
I'm going to go low tech on this one.
Yeah,
rubber mask.
Well, that being said, you know, your weekend at Bernie's, there is some big evidence of masks.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Like the people like in the I don't know, in the theater or wherever they are.
Oh,
or the Congress.
no, that one's done on purpose. That was the royal couple or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That like everybody's like, oh look at no, that was faked. That is 100% faked. But I'm talking about when Weekend at Bernie's, Mr. Biden there.
Yeah.
There is a place where it's like a mask is creasing on the side. You know, it's like where he's turning. Yeah, I absolutely
Did you see the one where Biden was giving that speech and that thing crawled out of his cufflink?
Oh, jeez.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
That scared the living bejesus out of me.
Was that a wire or is that like some sort of creature?
It looked like he was like that. You remember that dude from Men in Black that he had cockroaches inside of him?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. I don't know where it is. I met some freedom fighter guy from like Norway or something. He showed me that, and I damn near pooped my pants. Pooped my big boy pants.
Pooped my pants. Oh. But that's really interesting, you know, and super interesting.
Yeah, but
and that's I know we're divulging, we're going off crazy, but man, we could talk for a while about shit that we see. You know, it's.
But Neil to me is a podcaster, and he is, and I've never heard, because I don't know much about Lucid. It's not that I don't know about it. It's not that it's just something I'm just not that.
He's well versed. He's definitely extremely well versed in it.
Yeah, he's like and like super well spoken, and he just made me laugh and think, and like he could roll it along.
Oh, Tom!
I'm smitten with Neil.
Actually, I got along really well with Neil. You know, we have a lot in common, and you have a lot in common with him too.
Yes.
So, yeah.
He liked the weird music I was into. So yes. Cool. Yeah.
So I definitely see that we can have him back. You know, I definitely see. No, I say we'll definitely have him back. And Tom came up with a great idea. Maybe something we'll look into here in the near future.
A little bit of foreshadowing, but so maybe some big doings with certain guests we've had on that off air or off mic, better said, we have a rapport with. We can see we have a special energy with these people, I guess you would say. You know,
yep.
And maybe I don't know. We can maybe something live.
Yeah, maybe
would
something
be
live
something
with a
really
group of some of
fantastic.
our guests and just have just some roundtable conversation.
Yeah, like some kind of I don't know, man. I'm gonna enjoy that one because I get to sit back and watch these like kind of nerdy guys go at it. I'm a nerd too. I'm not saying that I keep calling Ryan nerd, but I don't mean that. I mean that in the most positive
But
way.
I do. I'm not. I wouldn't say a nerd. I'm more of like a geek or a dork. And
What would you call me? Go ahead.
a bully.
Boom! Rye steps into the plate. 440 feet. The background's the basis.
I don't know.
That was a great one, dude. Fucking uppercut. Pow!
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you one of us, Tom?
I am
you
not
a
one of
nerd?
you.
Are you a dork?
Maybe.
So
I used to be a
in high
music
school.
geek.
Okay, so in high school, what were you?
A fucking loser.
I actually fell into that too. It's because I was a weird kid, you know.
I just didn't fit in with the jocks.
I did. I was like a jock, but I still didn't really fit in with the jocks. Though.
I wasn't with the rich kids. The nerds, they were too nerdy. They got like freaking those huge braces and stuff.
Is that
So,
what you? But
I
I
was
don't
like
have braces, so that means I'm not a nerd.
One step above the geeks, the ones that like smelled funny and had like psoriasis and stuff. I was like one step above them. Girls didn't know I existed. You know, oh my god, get the fuck away from me! Like that. These always came out of which I was a loner, dude. Like everyone after school.
I can see that, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I can
No.
see you being a loner, like just being.
Well,
I'm doing my own thing, and
I developed my own.
maybe like rock band kind of, longer. Did you have longer hair?
No, the longest hair I ever had was one of those rat tails. You remember those? Do you remember
You had a rat tail?
I had a rat tail.
What? How old were you when you had your rat tail?
I was about 8, 9 years old, 10 maybe.
Me too.
Yeah.
We're
Our guest,
grade 3, grade 4. I had a rat tail.
It's like a mullet, but you haven't like kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Like
It's only like one piece hanging down the back, you know, and it's a tail. You're literally it's like it's the mullet.
dude, the rat tail. That was awful.
It was. I know. My dad used to bug me all the time. He's like, I'm going to cut that off. You know, one of these nights I'm going to cut that off. No, let me grow it out longer. Mine was about, I don't know, maybe about 7 inches, 6 inches.
Holy crap, dude! Mine was like at the most 2, 3.
Oh yeah, man, I rocked it.
Oh man, I used to.
And then finally it was like, no.
That was
time to
worse than
cut that.
Flock of Seagulls, man.
Oh.
I'd rather. I seriously. I mean, I couldn't do it now because I'm freaking bald. But like rock, I'd rather rock a mullet.
You know what? You could rock the skullet. You got bald on the top and party in the back. The skullet.
Skullet. Oh man, it was such a shocking revelation. Anyhow,
Okay.
how can you guys help us out? Right, give them a little rundown.
But it's my turn?
Sure.
Okay.
If you want, I mean, no, I was trying to set you up.
I'll take the reins. I got the reins.
All right.
Okay. And I know because you're a little tired today.
A little, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, like I said, to help us out, guys, just send some people our way to our Facebook group. Send some people our way to our Spotify. Send some people our way to our TikTok, to our YouTube, to our carrier pigeons, to our smoke signals, to our mail, to our postcards. Yeah.
You're doing. I can't think of any more. That was really good.
I know. I was thinking I was doing pretty good. Or message in a bottle.
Yeah.
You know, maybe send some messages in the bottle, you know, and throw them out to the sea and say, hey, if you guys are like lost at sea and you need something to pass the time, listen to Ryan Tom on The Lost Frequency.
I'm so you're doing great, by the way.
Okay,
Ryan.
thanks, man.
No, hey, kudos to you, friend. I'm so happy that you were taking the reins at the moment. I am super tired, and there was a point here where I couldn't discern as whether or not I was really doing this outro at the moment.
Oh my god, that's
Fucking
awesome.
Tired, dog.
And so you were like the guy that was like smoking the salvia and turning into the liquid and like falling through the path, and you're like, am I really here? Is this really me?
I love that.
Is this real life?
The thing he said that he was in the north. Like he's always lived in Florida, never even like been around snow.
When he was
yeah, the alternate reality, real quick. I was hoping.
Oh, man, I think we need to go into like. I think maybe the next one we go into that a little deeper.
Because we can get Patrick on too, because Patrick's done DMT.
Yep.
And he's done salvia, and those are both trippy substances. Yep. If you guys want to have a UFO encounter, seriously, like right now today, go down
without leaving your home.
Yeah. No.
Smoke DMT. I mean, do some DMT or smoke some salvia.
Go down to the guy with the railroad tracks with the bees in his beard and ask him for some good stuff. And there's a reason why those bees are there.
Man. That's going to be like a...
Dude, it's going to be a shirt.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
The bees in his beard?
I just think of like the, so I think of kind of like the Simpsons where it's the crazy cat lady,
Oh, yeah.
But I think like change that into crazy beard, bee beard man.
Yeah. So,
Burt's
and
Bees
so
beard.
if you want to have these things, you could just simply take a substance and you will be literally catapulted to another universe. And speaking of other universes, we appreciate that you guys are involved in our universe, The Lost Frequency. It means a lot to us.
It does.
We've been hearing such positive comments on our YouTube, on our Facebook page, and even
you know what? Like, even if you don't have stories and you want to give us feedback, send us an email. Like, we like reading the email. Send us an email, TheLostFrequencyPodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and you can contact me privately over Facebook. My name is Tom Franklin.
And Ry Voss.
And just send us a message telling us, what you like, what you don't like, and whatever. And we can't wait to keep you guys, I'm falling apart. Right?
Informed. Maybe on upcoming episodes or on our new endeavors, our merch, let us know if you're interested in this merch, give us some feedback so we know it's like, okay, we are, like you want some merch? We got some merch. I can make some merch. Well, I've been designing them. Tom's been feeding me some ideas and I've been kind of turning them into reality.
Yes. And remember, you are listening to the Lost Frequency Podcast, where we bring the periphery into focus.
There you go. You got it. You finished it.
Because you were like rolling the ball up the hill, and you were like, "Come on, it's coming down, Tom." And I go, "I got it right."
All right, guys. Until next week.
Later.
We close with good night, good luck, and God bless all of you on the good earth.